A long, long time ago, longer ago than anyone can imagine, and far, far away, further than it is even possible to imagine, there lived a wizard, just a wizard. Nobody and nothing else lived there. In fact, there was nothing there at all. North, south, east and west, nothing at all, just the wizard. This made the wizard very sad. Nobody knows how the wizard came to be there, or how long he had been there on his own, but he had certainly been there a very, very long time. The wizard was very old, older than the sun and the moon. Some say the reason that the wizard was alone in a sea of nothing was that he had already tried to make everything imaginable, and nothing he made was just right. Yet the wizard could make things, and make them very easily. The wizard was magical, unbelievably magical. The wizard could do anything he wanted with a flash of light from his eyes. But what was there to do when everything had already been tried? What was the point of moving when everywhere was the same? So there he stayed, motionless, in a sea of nothing, getting more and more sad. So what happened to make the wizard start thinking again is a complete mystery. It was almost as if something or someone else had taken pity on him and given him the seed, the tiniest seed of an idea. And that was all the wizard needed, because thinking was something the wizard was really very, very good at. The seed of an idea started to grow in the wizard's mind until the wizard understood that making something good seemed impossible. Trying was much better than simply giving up. That was the idea. Simple, yet very powerful. Trying and trying again is much better than giving up. The wizard started from scratch, from nothing at all, so to speak. Nothing was something that there was plenty of, and therefore an excellent place to start. The first thing seems obvious once you know what it is. The first thing is somewhere, rather than the nowhere he was already in. So the wizard started to make somewhere, starting with something to be on. One might call it the ground. The wizard flashed his eyes and made some ground to stand on. Thought the wizard. Ground really needs to be more than just somewhere to stand. Well, it definitely needs to be bigger, much bigger just to start with. So flashing his eyes again, a lot of the nothing was replaced by flat ground. As far as the eye could see, flat, boring ground. This just isn't right, thought the wizard, and he flashed his eyes again, returning everywhere to nothing. But his idea was still a good one, and he was definitely, certainly, positively not going to give up. Maybe lumpy ground, he thought. Maybe even some very big lumps would be okay. So the wizard flashed his eyes once more and created a large area of lumpy ground. Better, thought the wizard, but it all somehow looks the same, even though there are lumps in it. What could brighten up the ground so that it looks a lot more interesting, he thought. Colour, thought the wizard. Different colours here and there might make a difference. He was so eager to make progress with his new idea that he went straight ahead, flashed his eyes, and the single-coloured lumpy ground was replaced with multicoloured lumpy ground. It was not as if the wizard had not expected to see what he saw, but actually seeing it was different. Too much, thought the wizard. This is not so boring now, but it just seems too much. Just look at all of this colour. I couldn't live here, thought the wizard. So he flashed his eyes, and everywhere was nothing again. The wizard was getting used to trying again, but this time it was different. He was never going to give up and return to his sad state of endless, motionless existence in a sea of nothing. In fact, he started to see trying again as something to look forward to. There would always be plenty to do to keep him occupied. Once he got something right, then he could move on to making something else. He was already starting to think about what to make next, but first there was a job to do, creating somewhere to be. Another attempt, thought the wizard. This time, maybe not being so hasty to do things before having a really good think about them first. Some colour, but more careful thought about where to put it. Green is a good colour to start with, but not all green. So the wizard decided to make a landscape of part green, part brown, and some other colours in small amounts scattered about. With the flash of his eyes, he made a vast landscape, which was mostly just what he wanted to make. Maybe a few tweaks here and there from time to time would gradually make it just right, he thought. The wizard decided to look around now to see what the place he had made really looked like. So he set off to journey about the new land and take a look at it. On his travels, he thought that he would look out for somewhere special to build a home to live in. He could use the home when he wanted to take a rest and have a really good think before making more things. The wizard set out on his journey, magically disappearing from one place and reappearing in another. He looked at the valleys, he looked at the slopes, he looked at the lowland, and he looked at the highland. Finally, the wizard thought he had seen just about enough to help him think about the next things to do. The wizard returned to the place he started from to have a think about his journey. He quite liked the land he saw, but there was one thing about it that he really thought needed changing. There were no things in the land, just the land. There were different colours, but not things. In fact, he thought, it would be better if many of the different colours in the land were things rather than just colours. But what things to make? Shapes, he thought. Different shaped things with a variety of colours scattered about the landscape to make it more interesting. He wasn't sure what this was going to look like, but he decided to try it and then take another look around. This seemed to be a reasonable thing to do, and after all, he could easily change it again if it wasn't right. The wizard decided that the more practice he got at thinking about and making new things, the better he would get at doing it. Being right first time was not as important as getting better at doing things. So, with the flash of his eyes, lots of different shaped things were scattered about the land. So what do you think the wizard will find when he looks around this time? And what do you think the wizard will decide to do next?